Thank you, Governor. Mr. Speaker, Speaker Gingrich, you have said in recent days that Mr. Kane's 999 plan would be a harder sell than he lets on. How so?
Well, you just watched it.
Yeah.
There are, first of all, I think that Herman Cain deserves a lot of credit. He's had the courage to go out and take a specific, very big idea at the right level. And he has us at least talking about something that matters, as opposed to the junk that all too often is masquerading as politics in this country. So I think that's important. There are two parts to this. The first is, if you take his plan, and I think it's the interest of the whole country, to have serious people take his plan and go through it step by step. There are much more complexities than Herman lets on. Okay? I mean, 999, when you get into details like you pay it on a new product, you don't pay it on an old product, et cetera. There's a lot more detail here than lets on. Second, I favor very narrow, focused tax cuts such as zero capital gains, 100% expensing, because I think, as Governor Romney said, jobs are the #1 challenge in the next 2 or 3 years. Get something you can do very fast. Change on this scale takes years to think through if you're going to do it right.
Congresswoman Bachmann, you also said at the last debate that everyone should pay something. Does that mean that you would raise taxes on the 47% of Americans who currently don't pay taxes?
I believe absolutely every American benefits by this magnificent country. Absolutely every American should pay something. Even if it's $1, everyone needs to pay something in this country. That's why with my tax plan, I take a page out of not theory, but what's provable and what works. What is provable and what works was the economic miracle that was wrought by Ronald Reagan in the 1980s. That is the plan that I look at. I also want to completely abolish the tax code. I want to flatten the tax for all of Americans, simplify that tax for all of Americans, and that creates job growth, which is exactly what we need to have. Because to be able to fuel the fire for this economy, again, it is the tax code, but it doesn't end with the tax code. It's the regulatory burden that costs us $1.8 trillion every year, but it's more than that cost. It's jobs that are lost. So we need to repeal Obamacare, repeal the Jobs and Housing Destruction Act, known as Dodd-Frank. Oh, President Obama's plan has been a plan for destruction of this economy and failure.
Thank you.
I plan to change that with real jobs right now at michellebachmann.com.
We've been talking about Herman Cain's plan. Let's talk about Governor Romney's plan. Governor Perry, you have said that Governor Romney was an abject failure in creating jobs when he was governor of Massachusetts. If you've read his 59-point plan, has it changed your mind?
Well, here's the 9 that we need to get focused on, and it's not 999, and it's not 59. It's at 9% unemployment in this country. And that's where we got to get focused in America, is how to create an environment where that men and women get back to work. It's the reason I laid out a plan, Newt, this last week, to get this energy that's under our feet. We've got 300 years of resources right under our feet in this country. Yet we've got an administration that is blockading our ability to bring that to the surface, whether it's our petroleum or our natural gas or our coal. And 1.2 million jobs could be put to work. Americans who are sitting out there listening to this conversation tonight, somebody wants someone on this stage to say, listen, we got an idea here how to get you to work and take care of your family and have the dignity of the job. And that's exactly what I did with my plan, laid it out where Americans understand we don't have to wait on OPEC anymore. We don't have to let them hold us hostage. America's got the energy. Let's have American energy independence.
Governor Romney, does Governor Perry have the answer?
Well, he's absolutely right about getting energy independence and taking advantage of our natural resources here. We're an energy-rich nation that's acting like an energy-poor nation. And that's something I've been talking about for some time, as the governor has. He's absolutely right. But there are also a lot of good jobs we need in manufacturing. and high-tech jobs and good service jobs, technology of all kinds. America produces an economy that's very, very broad, and that's why our policy to get America the most attractive place in the world for investment and job growth encompasses more than just energy. It includes that, but also tax policy, regulatory policy, trade policy, education, training, and balancing the federal budget. And that starts with repealing Obamacare, which is a huge burden on this economy.
Senator Santorum, does Mitt Romney have the answers for jobs?
I agree with all of what Governor Romney and Governor Perry said. I would add the fact that I've put forward the plan that's going to allow for income mobility. That's a new term, but I've been using it for a long time, which is people at the bottom part of the income scale being able to rise in society. Believe it or not, studies have been done that show that in Western Europe, people at the lower parts of the income scale actually have a better mobility going up the ladder now than in America. And I believe that's because we've lost our manufacturing base. No more stamp made in America is really hurting people in the middle. And that's why I've focused all of the real big changes in the tax code at manufacturing. I cut the corporate rate for manufacturing to zero, repeal all regulations affecting manufacturers that cost over $100 million and replace them with something that's friendly they can work with. We repatriate $1.2 trillion that manufacturers made overseas and allow them to bring it back here if they invested in plants and equipment. They can do it without having to pay any excise tax. The final point I would make to Governor Romney, you just don't have credibility, Mitt, when it comes to repealing Obamacare. Your plan was the basis for Obamacare. Your consultants helped Obama craft Obamacare, and to say that you were going to repeal it, you have no track record on that we can trust you that you're going to do that.
Governor Romney, 30 seconds.
You don't.
You know, this, I think, is either our 8th or 9th debate, and each chance I've had to talk about Obamacare, I made it very clear, and also in my book. And at the time, by the way, I crafted the plan, and in the last campaign, I was asked, is this something that you would have the whole nation do? And I said, no, this is something that was crafted for Massachusetts. It would be wrong to adopt this as a nation.
That's not what
you're shaking your head. That happens. That happens
in your book that it should be for everybody.
Guys,
took it out of your book.
You took it out of your book.
His turn, okay, and mine. Let me.
You're allowed, Governor.
I'll tell you what. Why don't you let me speak?
You're allowed to change. You're allowed to change.
Rick, you had your chance. Let me speak.
Change the
Rick,
facts.
you had your chance. Let me speak.
You're out of time. You're out of time.
He ate into your time.
You're out of time.
Rick, I'm sorry. I haven't had a chance to respond yet because you were interrupting the entire time I was trying to speak. So let me make it very clear.
Give it another 20 seconds.
And look, we'll let everybody take a look at the fact checks. I was interviewed by Dan Balls. I was in interviews in this debate stage with you 4 years ago. I was asked about the Massachusetts plan. Was it something I'd impose on the nation? And the answer is absolutely not. It was something crafted for a state. And I've said time and again, Obamacare is bad news. It's unconstitutional. It costs way too much money, $1 trillion, and if I'm president of the United States, I will repeal it for the American people.
All right, Senator Santorum.
Mitt, the governor of Massachusetts just is coming forward saying we have to pick up the job left undone by Romney Care, which is doing something about cutting health care costs. What you did is exactly what Barack Obama did, focused on the wrong problem. Herman always says you got to find the right problem. Well, the right problem is health care costs. What you did with a top-down government-run program was focus on the problem of health care access. You expanded the pool of insurance without controlling costs. You've blown a hole in the budget up there, and you've authored in Obamacare, which is going to blow a hole in the budget of this country.
Governor Romney, I got to give you 30 seconds.
I'm sorry, Rick, that you find so much to dislike in my plan, but I'll tell you, the people of Massachusetts like it by about a 3-to-1 margin. And we dealt with a challenge that we had. A lot of people that were expecting government to pay their way. And we said, you know what? If people have the capacity to care for themselves and pay their own way, they should. Now, I can't tell you this. It's absolutely right that there's a lot that needs to be done, and I didn't get the job done in Massachusetts, and getting the health care costs down in this country is something I think we got to do at the national level. I intend to do that. But one thing's for sure, what Obama has done has to impose on the nation a plan that will not work, that must be repealed, and when it comes to knowledge about health care, and how to get our healthcare system working. I may not be a doctor like this one right over here, but I sure understand how to bring the cost of healthcare down and how to also make sure that we have a system that works for the American people.
Didn't do it.
Speaker Gingrich?
You didn't do it.
Speaker Gingrich, you've also been very critical of Mitt Romney's plan, not only on Obamacare, but his plan to lower the capital gains tax only on those earning under $200,000.
I want to stay on health for a minute, okay? Well, let's just focus. The Boston Herald today reported that the state of Massachusetts is fining a local small business $3,000 because their $750 a month insurance plan is inadequate according to the bureaucrats in Boston. Now, there's a fundamental difference between trying to solve the problems of this country from the top down and trying to create environments in which doctors and patients and families solve the problem from the bottom up. And candidly, Mitt, your plan ultimately, philosophically, it's not Obamacare, and that's not a fair charge, but your plan essentially is one more big government, bureaucratic, high-cost system, which candidly could not have been done by any other state because no other state had a Medicaid program as lavish as yours, and no other state got as much money from the federal government under the Bush administration for this experiment. So there's a lot of big government behind Romney Care, not as much as Obamacare, but a heck of a lot more than your campaign is admitting.
Governor Romney? 30 seconds.
Actually, Newt, we got the idea of an individual mandate from you.
That's not true. You got it from the Heritage Foundation.
Yeah, we got it from you and the Heritage.
You
got it from the Heritage Foundation and from you.
Wait a second. What you just said is not true. You did not get that from me. You got it from the Heritage Foundation.
And you've never supported.
I agree with them, but I'm just saying what you said to this audience just now plain wasn't true.
Let me ask, have you supported in the past an individual mandate?
I absolutely did with the Heritage Foundation against Hillary Care.
You did support an individual mandate?
Sure.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm saying. We got the idea from you and the Heritage Foundation.
Okay, a little broader.
Okay.
I did.
All right. Number one.
He still has time. Sorry, he still has time.
Number two.
He still has time.
Let me finish.
He still has time. Let him finish.
I get a little time here. Number two, we don't have a government insurance plan. What we do is rely on private insurers. And people, 93% of our people who are already insured, nothing changed. For the people who didn't have insurance, they get private insurance, not government insurance. And the best way to make markets work is for people to be able to buy their own products from private enterprises. What we did was right for our state, according to the people in our state. And the great thing about a state solution to a state issue is if people don't like it, they could change it. Now, there are a lot of things that
Anderson?
Congresswoman Buchan.
Anderson, I think it has to be stated that Obamacare is so flat out unpopular that even the Obama administration chose to reject part of Obamacare last Friday when they tried to throw out the Class Act, which is the long-term care function. The Secretary Sebelius, who's the head of Health and Human Services, reported that the government can't even afford that part and has to throw it out, and now the administration is arguing with itself. When even the Obama administration wants to repeal this bill, I think we're going to win this thing. We're going to repeal it, and I will.
We got to take a quick break. We will continue this discussion on the other side. We have a long way to go. We'll be right back.